Hello, Misfit Nation. Welcome to another edition of Lessons for Hannah. Many years ago, I introduced a new format that is alongside our regular episodes called Lessons for Hannah. Hannah's my daughter and one of the main inspirations for the Misfit entrepreneur. And I wanted to have a place where she could go and learn from her dad and his Misfit friends throughout her life, even after I'm gone. If you haven't listened to the first episode of Lessons for Hannah, I urge you to do so as it gives some more background and tells the amazing story of how Hannah came to be in our lives. Lessons for Hannah are short, very useful, and sometimes comical lessons that I want to share with you and give to Hannah to help in your lives. And because I want Hannah to have these for her life, I'm going to speak as though I am talking directly to her. These episodes are a lot of fun, and if you think there is a lesson that we should include in these episodes, please don't hesitate to send it over to us at support@misfitentrepreneur.com. We'd love to share it. And as a reminder, if you are new to watching this show on YouTube, hit the subscribe button below. Give this video a like and comment as well. We do our best to respond to all comments as timely as possible. Okay, so here goes. This week's lesson for Hannah. Hannah, I was inspired by a post that I saw recently on what the wealthy teach their kids that the poor and middle class do not. And I thought I'd share some of the lessons as well as add some of my own. The first lesson is assets versus liabilities. So assets are things that put money in your pocket, and liabilities are things that take money from your pocket. You're always going to have some liabilities. You must have them to live, but you should limit large ones as much as possible. And some things that people will call assets are not always assets. For example, if you buy a house to live in, many people, including a bank, would call that an asset. But if you think about it, does the house put money in your pocket or does it take money out of it? It takes it out through your mortgage payments, taxes, upkeep, and so on. So in reality, it's a liability until you sell it. And in order for it to be an asset, you have to sell it and you have to recoup the cost that you've paid into it as a liability. Otherwise, it's still a liability because ultimately you lose money on it. But if you can focus on adding assets that put money in your pocket and grow those, you're going to do very, very well. Examples of assets like this are rental real estate, cash flowing businesses, investments that produce more income throughout the year, which could be everything from dividend paying stocks to owning oil wells, intellectual property, and much more. Number two, understanding money. What is money? I've talked about money before in Lessons for Hannah episodes really several times, but it's important to revisit. Money is really just a medium of exchange. It's a way to pay or be paid for goods and services, but not all money is equal. In fact, the US dollar has lost over 95% of its value since 1971. It's what's called a fiat currency. And the US dollar does have an advantage as it is the current reserve currency of the world, so it has to be widely used. But it has no real value other than being reserved and backed by the US, which is really backed by debt. In fact, all money is really debt. I'll let that sink in for a second. If all debts were repaid right now, there would be no money out there, believe it or not. The US has about 35 trillion in debt at this time and is adding a trillion every 100 days or so. This is going to continue to cause the dollar to lose its value, and it's going to grow and go faster. It's kind of like the snowball effect. Once it gets rolling down the hill, it continues to happen faster. So pretty soon we'll be adding a trillion every 60 days and so on and so on. And that's why things continue to get more expensive. It's not that they really cost more. It's that the dollar is losing value. But things like assets will keep up and become worth more for that same reason. They have real tangible value. So as the dollar is worth less and less, assets hold their value and ultimately go up. Assets effectively are how you keep up. Money can also just be an idea. Contrary to popular belief, money can grow on trees. Think of it this way. J.K. Rowling, author of the Harry Potter series, is a billionaire because she took the idea of Harry Potter and wrote it into a book. That book resonated with people, that it created value and in money, and that people were willing to pay to read the book and the subsequent books. And this way, she turned an idea into money. There are many examples of turning ideas into money. In fact, that's what entrepreneurship is all about. What about things like gold or Bitcoin, right? These are things that are out there that you hear a lot about today. Well, gold is a tangible metal that's been used for 5,000 years. It has value and is used to even create products. And it really serves as a store of value. It's kind of the original money. I look at things like gold and silver as a hedge against a falling dollar because they're an asset that will go up in value as the dollar loses value. Bitcoin is similar, and in some ways, it's a digital type of gold, although it has a bigger promise as a medium of exchange where gold is more challenged. Imagine taking gold bars to exchange for things. It's a lot harder, right? Bitcoin's benefit is the blockchain network, which requires no middlemen. So you can freely exchange Bitcoin without needing a bank. It frees you from the fiat money system. Bitcoin is also finite in that there are only so many that can ever exist. So the more that it's adopted, the less there is to go around, which naturally causes the price to go up. Now, I know this is a lot to take in, so just remember, money is just a tool to learn to use, and fiat money like the US dollar will continue to lose value over time. So if you have dollars, you have to keep them moving in assets to keep up and retain value so that you can afford things easier as they increase in cost due to the value lost in that fiat currency. All right, number 3 lesson: good debt versus bad debt. This goes along with acquiring assets. If you're going to go into debt, you should do your best to go into good debt, which is going into debt for things like assets that put money in your pocket and grow in value, increasing your net worth. Bad debt is debt for liabilities that take money out of your pocket and potentially lose value over time. For example, most people go into a debt by buying a car. And a car is a liability and its value depreciates. It doesn't go up. It loses value over time and takes money from your pocket. Now, I'm not saying don't buy a car. What I am saying is recognize it for what it is and buy wisely. Decide what makes sense to spend for a monthly payment and the debt that you want to take on. You should try to keep them as both as small as possible so that your excess money can be invested into assets. Focus on adding good debt and limiting bad debt as much as possible. All right, next lesson. Wealth is made over time through making money work for you. As a follow-up on the last couple of lessons, if you focus on growing assets through investing or your ideas, taking on good debt where it makes sense, and limiting bad debt, you're going to find that your money will ultimately begin to work for you and you won't have to trade time for money, or at least trade a lot less time for money. And if you keep at it over time, you may reach a point where the money working for you pays all of your bills and you will reach true financial independence. This will allow you to have freedom to do what you want in life, especially with your time. But don't lose sight of using this gift built through hard work and smart work, time, diligence, and making good decisions, and use it to do good for others. Ultimately, what is the point of building wealth if you cannot help or share it with others to help this world? All right, next lesson: learn to solve problems. I've often said that entrepreneurship is about solving problems, and the more and bigger problems that you can solve, the bigger your business can grow. Building wealth is the same thing. Just because you have or build wealth does not mean that you won't have problems. And as you solve those problems, the money and the wealth that you have will continue to grow. It's no secret that a good many people who build wealth are entrepreneurs because they see a problem, figure out how to solve it, and then they monetize it. Again, money being created from an idea. So, a key skill to learn for all areas of life is to become a good problem solver. The next one: you're not entitled to anything. This is one I took from the piece that I read because I think it is very relevant in our society. Wealthy parents teach their children that there is a burden of performance, or they could or ultimately lose everything. Your success should not depend on your parents' money, but on your hard and smart work and your actions. The real world is not the coddled society that many kids grow up in these days. There are no trophies for second place. Merit and results matter, not feelings or what you think you should get. You have to earn it, and once you earn it, you have to grow yourself to keep it. Remember how I mentioned earlier that the wealthy people have problems as well? Well, once they gain wealth, there are many ways to lose it. Keeping and growing wealth is a whole new skill set that must be learned and practiced. And that's why most lottery winners go broke within 5 years, because they do not develop themselves to hold on to and grow their wealth. So stay humble on your journey, keep learning and growing. Hannah, building wealth is a wonderful thing that opens up tremendous possibilities and allows you to do more good in this world. but money should never define you as a person. In fact, having more money just amplifies who you really are, good or bad. So as you set out to build wealth, first, take from some of the other lessons that I've shared with you in these episodes and decide what the principles are on which you want to live and build your life. Never lose sight of them and never sacrifice them for gain. They are too important. Your principles are the foundation and guide for how you will live. And if you lay a good foundation, building wealth on top of it will only make it better. I love you, Dad.